You can go about your business. Everyone gets quiet. We don't need to stand up for a warm-up song. They're going to give us a warm-up song. They've earned their chocolate milk and bacon this morning. Great job, boys. Great job. Miigwech. Good morning, everyone. Minok kajeb chik kajeb kina. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. And I want to welcome everyone who's joining online, virtually, via the simulcast online. So thanks for joining us this morning. A great day yesterday. Great day of day one of Niigaan Gdizhaami. Moving forward together. So a wonderful start yesterday. We are going to begin, we're going to ask Gigadon Nimki to give us an opening song for today, where the purpose of that song, and I'll give you guys a breath just talking a little bit about these songs. I've been singing around the drums since I was younger than these guys, very, very young. And, learning these ways, learning these songs and the purpose. Each song that's offered has a purpose, has a meaning. And oftentimes in our gatherings, we call upon the spirit of that either it's a grandfather or grandmother drum, this is a grandfather, to call upon the spirit with us, to invite the spirit to join us. Sometimes these songs come in the form of a welcome song. Sometimes they come in the form of an honor song where you're being honored by that drum carrier, by those singers in this way. But sometimes it's a calling in song. And that's the purpose of this song. In order for this drum Gdizhaami to be here, that rolling thunder, that sounding voice of that thunder, tobacco was offered, that beautiful gift of asema, menado asema. One of our most important teachings as an Anishinaabe is Niigaan Gdizhaami. Tobacco has to come first. So when we're calling upon the Spirit, when we're asking the Spirit of this drum to do that for us, to offer that opening song, that calling in song, that tobacco comes first. So these guys are responding to that tobacco, offering that in a good way. So yeah, you're welcome to just be seated during the song. Put your minds and thoughts to what you learned yesterday. Put your minds and thoughts to all the things you're going to be hearing about today, to open yourself up and invite that Spirit to be with us today. So this is the calling in song, Gdizhaami. Anytime you're ready. Miigwech Gigadonim. We're going to call upon Elder Esther O'Shea of Wawaskinaga to offer us our opening Name Wen Minwa Miigwech Oendam.
Creator, Gdizhaami to Great Spirit, and our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, the sun rising, the gift of spirituality you've given to us, the 4 responsibilities you've given to us to carry, to care, to steward these things. Aanii, the land, Be, the waters, Shkode, the fires, and Nodin, the winds. As the new day comes upon us, we listen for your voice that guides us, that inspires us. We hear it in the voices of our youth and the songs they sing upon the drum. We are so grateful for these young ones, for our elders, for the seeking that we do. We look for our way and we find it in the voices of each other as a family. We turn our minds and hearts to those of our people that grieve, that toil in sadness. We ask to remember them always, send them comfort while we are here thinking of all the things that we need to do to build a nation. Thank you for our ancestors and the values that they have passed down to us. This will guide us and help us to be strong and find the way to rebuild, once again, a nation that is at peace, in kindness, acceptance, and love for all. Miigwech, 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 Miigwech.
Give lots of love for Esther, Miigwech. I want to talk a little bit about that song, guys. Maybe you might not know where that song comes from. It comes from an elder who lived here for a lot of his life. His name was Robert Big Track Abun. He's from a place called Spirit Lake in North Dakota. And that song is, he called that a song of soaring. When we honor the elders, when we sing that song, it speaks of that soaring of that spirit, how that spirit moves amongst us. And that's what happens when we honor our elders. We do that in that good way. It helps in our connection back to the spirit world. So that's where that's a beautiful, beautiful song. I really love that song. Yeah, it's a great day today. We've got I'm going to talk a little bit about the agenda today. We've got the Youth Council update coming up, very first thing. So we're going to have Kinoomaadziwin Keelan Henslick delivering that. And our keynote address, OJIG, Dr. Alan Corbier will be delivering that, giving a great keynote, talking a bit about the connection of that theme that we have today, caring for the land, caring for each other. And, you know, when Alan talks, he often talks about place. And this is an important place for us as Anishinaabe. Back in our history, this was a very important gathering place, the gathering place of Niswe Ishko Dekan, our Three Fires Confederacy. There were the local communities here, Batchewan and Garden River, but before we became separated as Indian Act bands, we were all one Anishinaabe nation under that banner of the Three Fires Confederacy. And the local Anishinaabe, welcomed us, hosted us here at the Rapids, Baoting, that's what that place is called. And it's a beautiful place. And we also met south of us on the straits, just south of the straits of that big lake there, a place called Michilimakana, the place of that big turtle. So this is a very important place for our Confederacy, a gathering place of all Anishinabek. So I'm sure Alan is going to speak to that a little bit as well. We'll take a break around 10:45, and then we're going to go into the breakout rooms. We're going to be, again, going into our various rooms there, imagining the IEP. IEP. I'm going to need some help with that one. And then we're going to talk about data as well. So Charity Kaluri will be providing that for us. So a number of breakout rooms around the 11 o'clock hour, so expect that. A little bit of housekeeping reminder, please submit your travel forms. So hopefully you can see your travel forms, or actually travel forms are available from the folks here at the registration booth. So please make sure you submit those nice and early so you don't forget. And please visit our vendors as well. We're so thankful the vendors can be here. They add a flair, they add a comfort, they add a bit of our tradition of how we trade. So yeah, support your vendors. If you have your Christmas list already, good on you. So start filling those orders with the vendors there. Lots of really great stuff. I think that's all I have to offer you this morning. We are, again, as I mentioned, going to talk about the Youth Council update, and we will have a language activity. I'm going to ask everyone to participate in that language activity. Participation yesterday with the activity, let's all get into that language activity when it comes. It was described to me earlier, and it's a really, really good activity. We're always needing to know our language. We're always needing to practice that, even if it's counting those numbers, using, learning about those animals, those spirit animals. I'm of the Miigwech and Dodem, of the beautiful bald eagle, learning your clan animals. Knowing Nimki Benesi, that thunderbird that brings those rains, that brings that cleansing of our territory. There's so much to learn. Magana, that turtle, Chimagana and Shkiken, those beautiful turtles that held the breadth of this land on its shoulders, on its back in our creation story. So learning those things in the language is so important to continue with. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our youth council, give them opportunity to take the stage. So I want to welcome, and there was an election for 25-27 council, so last year at the forum. So this is going to be an update to share a little bit of some of the initiatives that the youth council have been working on and involved. And as I mentioned, we're going to finish up with a wonderful activity. So to speak on behalf of the youth council, please welcome Miigwech Kaylin Hanslick. Oh, everybody. Yes. And everybody.
Yep. Miigwech. Good morning. How's everyone doing today? Okay, good. Everyone's awake. So, Aanii Gdizhaami Forum, Taganing Donjban Bising and Dayan, Wabshishido Dem, Anishinabek Education. Hello, everyone. My name is Kaylin. I come from Nipissing First Nation. I also live in Garden Village, just down the street from Bob. And I'm on the Youth Council. So yes, we're the AES Youth Council, and we're excited to share with you all a little bit about what we've been up to. So this is our second term. Some of us have been on since the first term, and we have some new additions, which we're really excited about. And without further ado, I'll let everyone else introduce themselves.
Anin Bojo, Wabanokwe and Dishikas, Wabshin Dodem, Anishinabek and Dao, Nibizin Donjaba, Sturgeon Falls Donda. Good morning, hello. My name is Jay Goulet. My spirit name is Wabanokwe. I'm from Nipissing First Nation, and I'm on the Youth Council.
Aanii Bojo, Gimiwanas in Watan, Indigenous cause, Gitchiminasing and Donjiba. My name is Carson Norton Sutherland. I'm from Beausoleil First Nation. I'm second term with the Youth Council, and I'm looking forward to continuing this.
Aanii, Bojo, Nindinawe, Magani Dug, James Indigenous, Mishkin Ndoda, Mohawk Minawa, Ojakrin and Dow, Nedivitz, Agmig, Nishinabek Ndoja, Wabshigazibing and Dida. Hi, hello everybody. I'm James Forneri. I'm from Pickmore First Nation. I also live in White River, Ontario, and this is my second term on the Youth Council. Miigwech.
Aanii Bojo, Lucius Indigenous Cause, Indonjay Squanjiga Indigo, Gigon Dodam, Jibasing and Dojaba. My name is Lucius Sear, part of the AAS Youth Council from Jibasing First Nation. And yeah, I'm happy to be on the council this term.
Aanii Bojo, Dainera Indijnika, Jashkwe Nango Shiniko, Gigon and Dodem, Jibasing and Donjaba, and Anishinabek Edao. Hello everyone, my name is Dainera Sear. I'm from Jibasing First Nation on Manitoulin Island. I'm in my second term on the Youth Council, and I'm very happy to be here and continue to advocate for Indigenous education. Miigwech.
Aren't they so deadly? I'm very excited and happy to be working with this council, and they have a lot of bright ideas and a lot of good conversations going on to advance Indigenous education, especially for youth, and I'm very, very, very happy to work alongside them.
All right. So around this time last year, we were here for the Niigaan Gdizhaami Forum, and we had the re-elections. So we were with Chop and Gary, and basically we did a traditional election. So traditional elections look a little bit different than the Western elections that we are used to. Oh my gosh, my brain's going a bit blank here. But basically, we get passed tobacco. Oh my goodness. Sorry guys, my brain's just going blank a little bit.
It's okay, it's too early for us, nippesings. Okay, so yeah, at the stand-up election, it was really cool that we got to learn about that because I'd never known, like, that's what our people used to do. So who knows what a stand-up election is?
Oh, not that many.
Not that many hands up. So back in the day, when we would elect our leadership in our communities, we would have a stand-up election, which is a little bit more difficult now when we try to reach like our off-reserve members. So it's a little bit more difficult to be having these in our communities nowadays, but essentially, you would get handed tobacco and it was, yes, I accept, or no, I respectfully decline. And if you accepted, you would say your speech and you'd have 2 minutes. Well, I don't know how it usually goes. We had 2 minutes. So I was like, hi, my name is Kaylin and I'm from North Bay and blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, oh my gosh, who's gonna vote for me? But luckily, I had a really awesome team behind me. So yeah, you have 2 minutes and people get to stand behind you and that's like their way of casting their vote. And at the end, sometimes there's a tiebreaker and you have two big lineups of people. And I remember a couple of years, our first election, it was like a tough tiebreaker and I couldn't decide who to go to. And yeah, so it's really exciting to see. And the person that's being elected like cannot see who's behind them. So that's like another really humbling thing to experience. So that was really awesome. And it would be cool to see that come back. But like I said, it would be difficult with, nowadays we're trying to accommodate off reserve and so not everyone can be there for a stand-up election, but we're very grateful to have that opportunity here with the AES Youth Council. So next year, we will be having another election every 2 years. So tell your youth, come on out, come check it out, come learn our old ways, and it's really awesome.
Yeah, so it's really beautiful because it's all rooted in community, right? So even when we get elected, when we were selecting our Ogama, we all collectively decided that. And we realized too, like our Ogama, as Kaylin mentioned before, is for all of us. Like she works, we're a team, right? So yeah. My brain, guys, I'm not awake. Yeah, and then we'll move on to slide 2. Oh my goodness.
I think we did already just talk about everything I was supposed to say. But, you know, we had a great time experiencing that, well, for the second time, because we already did it 2 years ago, so. But doing it the second time was a great, you know, refresher on the traditional protocols. We got to work with Gary Dokis, Chop Wayne and Dot. Huh? I know how to say it. Eight. We have a maximum of 12 that are supposed to join, but this time we had about 8 youth that were elected to the council, and that is a good thing, but also it could have been even greater.
There's also a snowstorm.
There was a snowstorm. I forgot about the snowstorm. I'm not, yeah, no. I don't know what else to say here right now. So I'll just, I'll pass it on to James for slide 3, right?
Good job.
Change the slide. Yep. Is that the right side? Yeah, okay. So for this slide you're seeing right now, that's our AES Youth Council summer gathering. It was one of our first major events as a youth council. It was, there we go, that's it. As you see here in the front and center picture, that's a game we were playing, Headbands. That's going to be the game that we're going to be playing later on. Try and use Anishinaabe Moan words if you can. If you can't, it's okay. Use English words if you can't, but try and go back and use our Anishinaabe Moan. This took place at Spear Point Lodge. We also did some fishing. We did a medicine walk. It was a really great time out there with all the new youth coming out, getting to experience everything, having a great time, honestly. We did, what is it, the rock stone carvings. We did fishing. We did medicine walk. We made shakers. Yeah, we did some language stuff as well. Lots of games. It was an amazing time, and we have much more events like that throughout the year, and in the future we will have more like that. So yeah, all the youth, come along. Go ahead.
Okay, so as you see in the pictures, well, you might not be able to see, but Perry McLeod is there. He's pretty deadly. He taught us a lot of stuff about our medicines. Another thing you'll see with our youth gatherings is a lot of stuff is like impromptu, which we'll get to that after. But here it was just like we had a couple minutes and a bunch of res kids saw a couple fishing rods and we're like, can we go fishing? So that's like a really fun thing, is that like we're very like open to doing all of these activities, and like a lot of the youth are able to come out of their shells at these events and learn new things from each other. So that was really fun. So each day at this gathering, and summer gathering last summer, it began with a sunrise ceremony to help us start in a good way. And that was really fun for us to learn. And then we participated, like we said, in fishing, games, Nishnabemwin. Has anyone here ever heard of Spirit Point in Trout Creek? Okay, not a lot of people. Oh, I see the Dokis and Ipsing people here. Yeah, so it's close. It's like South and North Bay. Super awesome place to host any of our events there. Yeah, so it was a really strong opportunity for us to connect to the land, our culture, and to get to know each other a little bit better.
All right, from there, we had the annual general meeting in Miigwech First Nation, where we got to update the First Nations chiefs and Board of members on what we've been up to, current concerns of our youth council, and got to have a Q&A with all the members and have a little bit more of a update and connection one-to-one on our actual thoughts that's unprompted and not just reading from a script. We got to really speak our minds and answer these questions to the best of our abilities in that time. And I found that it was very important that we had the opportunity to do that because most of the time we are reading exactly what we're meant to say. And so having that opportunity to just be asked questions and answer honestly and in the moment got the true voices of the youth in our council.
All right. And then next up, we went to our youth spring gathering. So our spring gathering took place in Rama, and we connected with Great Lakes Cultural Camps. And we spent 2 days on the land. This year, we've been focusing a lot on land-based learning, as we feel like that's a big thing that our youth has been wanting, is land-based. So yeah, we worked for 2 days. At the Sugar Bush in Rama, and CHOP was also there as well. We learned like a wide range of skills, and it was really cool because we were there for the Sugar Bush, but we learned like more in-depth teachings and lessons about like family and community and how like the Sugar Bush, it's fun, but it takes a community to do it and it takes teamwork. So that was really nice. And I'll let Lucius tell you the rest.
Yeah, so continuing off of what Jade said, we got to learn like a wide range of like land-based skills directly related to the sugar bush, like tapping trees, collecting and boiling sap, making different products like toffee, maple sugar, maple butter, and we actually got to take those home with us, like the youth that attended as well. We also learned how to pluck and prepare a goose, which just happened to be within the community, a community member who was out goose hunting lent us one so that we can get to learn all of those skills. It was really educational, and I really enjoyed it personally, and all of us on the council that went enjoyed it as well. It was a powerful hands-on experience. Went far beyond just learning about the sugar bush. It was about living the teachings and the lifestyle that goes along with that.
So a lot of the things we've been learning is like from our youth gatherings is we're always taking stuff away to add to our personal bundles. For example, we took a lot more away from like the sugar bush teachings than I think I ever have, because it was just like, so we were tapping trees. Lucius didn't tell the story like to the full extent. We were tapping trees and someone was like on Lake Couchiching, duck hunting or goose hunting. And then the culture lead for Rama was there and he was like, I know who that is. That's my neighbor. And we're like, bring us a goose. So sure enough, the next day he's like, I brought a goose. So then we got to like learn how to like pluck it, and we ate it, and it was really awesome. So like that was not planned. So that's what I mean by like our impromptu things. It's just like really awesome. We got fire teachings there. We learned how to like use the flint and the rock. So that was really awesome to do. So yeah, it's like really awesome opportunities if youth want to reconnect with like our old ways. Like these are good stepping stones to just, get your foot in the door with like our cultural activities. Because a lot of the times, like all these youth, we have different youth every time. So it's really nice to see us reach out and connect with different youth. Another thing, so there's cooks in this picture, Shawanda, and she was giving us like a teaching. And I remember her saying that we always talk about how the youth are our future without realizing that the youth are like now, it's the present. So that we really took that with us, and we realized how important it is to learn these things now. So yeah, that's really awesome to have these opportunities, and I think we're just very grateful for that. So Miigwech. You want to add? Okay. Okay, so now we're gonna play a game, right? Okay, I love playing games. So we're gonna play a game called headbands, except we don't have headbands. So we're gonna have to use an old Anishinaabe trick where you just take your card, you lick it, stick it on your head. My grandma taught me that trick. Or you could just hold it regularly, but I think the other way is more fun. So headbands, each table is a group. So that's your team that you're gonna play against. Do not look at your card. It's supposed to be fun, so don't cheat. So each table is gonna have a group. Oh, I dropped the remote, oops. Everyone grabs a card and holds a card up to their forehead. Don't look. Everyone around you at the table is going to explain the picture without saying what it is and give hints as needed. Your job is to help players around you also guess what you have. So go in a circle around the table and take turns. So kind of like charades, kind of. So you got to guess what it is. Yeah, and you're allowed to speak. So our youth council is going to go around and pass around our cards to play the game. And I think that's it for now. All right, ready? Skoden. What? Sorry. Okay, so the word on the top will be in Anishinaabe, and the one on the bottom will be in Lenape. Bonus points amongst yourselves if you can say the word in Anishinaabe or Lenape.
If your table doesn't have a pack, can you raise your hand? Everyone has a pack? Okay, good. Cool.
All right, I'll give everyone another 30 seconds. Okay. I want to say Miigwech to everyone for participating in the little game. And for those of you who are interested in bringing some of the cards home to share or play with your community, we have some over here at the table, or feel free to take the ones that are at your table. We have plenty. And that's just an example of some of the language activities and games we do. I think Darla is here. She introduced us to Anishinabek Bingo before. That was really fun. So yeah, just tons of language games that have to do with the land. As you can see, the theme with these cards was Earth Day. So we're just being very, very mindful of the earth, respecting the earth, acknowledging the earth. So yeah, it makes me very happy to see some of you using our traditional ways with the lick and stick. Very happy to see that. So without further ado, I would like to say Miigwech on behalf of the AES Youth Council. Miigwech everyone for participating and listening to our presentation, and we hope that you have a deadly rest of your day. Miigwech.
Ever deadly game, eh? Give them a big round of applause, our youth council, Miigwech. Show. Oh, and you're going to have a good time playing that game, yeah. Our table, there was a couple of them we didn't quite get. The word for mountain, we didn't know where that one came from. I think that one came straight from ChatGPT. But yeah, really, really good time. All right, folks, I started to talk about the agenda, but I missed one important breakout. Shelley, are you in the room? Shelley is leading, there she is. Shelley is leading a update on the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation Guidance and Resource Development work. So that's going to be taking place again during the breakouts at 11 a.m. Then this afternoon, there's going to be further breakouts. We're going to learn about Bitigong Nishnabeg's land-based learning, and we're going to learn about Naakijige, Stoking the Fire Project, and then a little bit of an update on the Niigaan Gdizhaami Fund this afternoon. And then Youth Council will be back again to provide some Youth Council reflections. All right, lots to look forward to. All right, now the moment you've been waiting for, you've been dreaming about. This man from Chiging is well renowned for his knowledge on history, his knowledge on what we call in our language Migisanan. That was a beautiful wampum belts that he carries. Ojig Gijinkazo Binen Dodeman, Dr. Alan Corbier. I'll ask for your attention, folks. We're going to give all of our attention and respect to Alan. I really appreciate that. So we'll ask you to settle down. There is a break coming up at 10:45. You could resume your conversations. Dr. Alan Corbier is going to be talking a bit about our theme today, connecting us to this place, Baoting, and the historical significance for Anishinaabe of this place, and the historical significance for us as Niswesh Godekan, our three fires. Learning about the land we're on and how to help us take better care of these lands. Without any further ado, please welcome to the stage Dr. Alan Corbier. There should be a clicker right on the desk. Yeah, there it is.
But
Yeah,
it
that's
doesn't,
the one.
I was told doesn't really work.
Oh, you can just shout your instructions over
Let's
there.
see if it does. Oh yeah, it does.
All right, good luck.
Naha Anishinaabe duk, Dinwen Magre duk, Nin Sarjik, Binen Dotem, Chiging Jinka de we Shkunagan Nenjabaya, Miode Enter de Ben Dagazia, Meanwhile, kina Anishinabek king do the Ben Daugust. So my name is the Fisher, but not Guy Gigun Kevinene. I'm not that kind of fisher. The fisher that I am is an animal, like related to. You always hear people talk about Wabajesh, but I'm bigger than that. And then our word for North Star, I mean the Big Dipper, that's called Oji Kanang. Oji Kanang, and there's a story that goes with that, how the fisher saved summer. So, and that's one of the things that I tried to tell a group of you. I came down to this conference before when I was down in Toronto at the airport, and I talked about learning about your name, learning about your clan, but not only that, it's how your name and your clan figure in the story, this big story all across Anishinaabe King about what our people did, who our teachers are, and the imprints they left on the land. And so there's one big story, Anishinaabe story, that we have to learn. But each animal, each being plays a role in that. And then you got to find out what that role is. Oh, I was holding it upside down, that's why. So Bob mentioned this, and many of you, probably 90% of you saw this. And this is the Miigwech book, from the Miigwech book. And according to this teaching, there's 7 stopping places, and one of them is Mampi Bao Ting. Tongo, well, Jeba Dashingi Gi Bajao de Jigazibing Gi Baja Gi Binda Kujigeo de. So this morning, I knew it was going to be really full again in that teepee. So I thought, I'll go down to the river. So I went down to the river, and that's where I put my sama. One of the things that we encounter as we go along, there's a sign there. Awayagi bidak sidon kinwachchikan ode jigazibing, shawaying te delta gabeshigamagong. Beside that Delta Hotel, there's a sign there, those blue plaques, and it says St. Mary's River, and they translated it into Anishinaabe. So what they say, they call it Chitwa Mani Zibe. But before we knew that there was a St. Mary, this river had a name. And that's the thing that what I want to try and get you to think about. Well, what was the name before Jibwa de Kushno at Gunda Yapski Ejik? Before non-native people came here, what was that name? Before we knew of Mother Mary, or Hail Mary, or Saint Mary. So here, what you see on that map there, Lake Superior is called Ojibwe Kchigame, Ojibwe Kchigame, Great Lake of the Ojibwe. And what I've seen on online now is that people say Nadawe Kchigame for Lake Huron, but they just looked at what the Wemtagosh did, and the Wemtagoshi named it Lake Huron, but Anishinaabe called this Odawa Kchigame. Odawa Kchigame was Lake Huron. Ojibwe Kchigame was Lake Superior. And so this river, St. Mary's River, was actually called Kchigame-Zibe, Kchigame-Zibe, because it come from Lake Superior, go into Lake Huron and Lake Michigan, Kchigame-Zibe. This was Jibwa de Gushnoat Gundak Yapshki Ejik and Bachwe Ejik. Before our visitors came, that's what this place was called. And so you can read this story yourselves in that Miigwech book, but we have there's older versions of this story, and in this story here, here's a depiction of the migration, and it just has 28 29 knots on a string. And each of those dots on there, each of those numbers is actually a place in that. And that's how our people used to do things to remember. And they would remember this whole thing, and where that arc is, that's the path of the otter. But here in that circle is the spirit world, and then that otter came across, then he brought that Miigwech that Bob was talking about. Majakwat. Anyway, as you go along those numbers, each of those places have a name. And and of course, one of those is Bao Ting. Wawiyatanong, Bao Ting, Chigaming, Kachitwajiu, all these different places. And then some of you may have even seen this as well. If you go on that decolonial atlas online there, you'll see this scroll. Some people are upset that somebody made this. I find it myself that Anishinaabe people blur the lines between sacred and secular. And I think that when we're looking at this as a teaching tool, it's actually it's more useful to have it in the classrooms than to keep it scurried away. But of course there's bigger questions about it. But anyway, you see on that scroll that Bao Ting is mentioned there, Sault Ste. Marie. One thing I wanted to mention though in that scroll is that Bao Ting, there's a square in there. You kind of can't see it. It's a square, and then it just looks like it's a square with lines through it, almost like a washboard. And that means that it's rapids. So that's so when you look at these, if you ever get a chance to look at these scrolls and look at these different items, then you'll have a bit of a clue onto how our people used we had a visual language, eh? And that's one of the things I wanted to show to you and to say. Anyway, that's this place, Mampe Bao Ting, Chapi Tendagwak, Chagabeing, Dash Nishinabek, Gibe Mounjidawat Mampe Bao Ting. Our people, for a long time, for many years, have been coming here to Bao Ting, and have been coming and meeting here because of the fish and whitefish, tikmeg. Oh, I thought I took that one out. Anyway, that's that decolonial atlas, and it has more explanation of that scroll, and it puts ties those places, georeferences those places. Eh? But here, I want to take a bit of time to talk about our great uncle, who we call our great uncle, Nana Bojo, Wayne Bojo. So there's time, right around this time is when we stop talking about him. He's still groggy. They're waking up, but there's still bits of snow on around and the thunders have already come to wake everyone up. But if it's like when some of you woke up for a sunrise ceremony this morning, you're still kind of groggy, you're not really fully on, you're not really fully active yet. That's how these spirits are. They're waking up. One year is a spirit's day. The spring is their summer. The spring is their morning. The summer is their lunchtime, and the fall is their supper time, and then winter is their night, and that's when they sleep that whole time. So 1 year is a spirit's day. So sometimes you'll hear storytellers like Maba Esther tell these stories that were told by her grandparents and her elders that she carries, but also other storytellers. And they'll talk about how sometimes a person, Nishnabe, Mage Nishnabe Kwe, Maji Jagaza, that they get taken away. That when the spirit takes that person, they take them away. And then the people are worried, they're like, where did they go? They were here, either they were here fasting or they were here doing something, and now they're gone. We don't know where they are. And then they come back and it's years that they come back, and usually they'll find them right at the same spot where they were. And the people come every year to look at that spot. They look around for them, wonder where they went, come back again. And then when those people reappear, when they come back, that's what they say, all the people look older to them, the ones that gets brought back. He says, I was just gone 4 days. And they'll say to him, no, you were gone 4 years. Or they say, I was just gone 10 days. And they say, no, you were gone 10 years. So people, that's how, when they get taken away, they actually end up being taken for a lot. It seems short in that spirit world, but here it's longer. So we're making an atlas, Nikki Recollet and I, and this is a screenshot of that. And this is who I call, I said our uncle there, Nana Bojo. And this word on there, Baban Nemeto, means he left signs wherever he was. He left signs of his trail and of his travels and of his endeavors and his what they call foibles. I don't know how to say that in Ojibwe, the foibles. But here you see around Bog Ting, there's a couple of places. And I've tried to go and see each of these places myself. I've been to Sleeping Giant and some of these other places, Recollet Falls out by, when you drive down Highway 69, then you turn off that used to be that visitor center, French River Visitor Center. You go there, you park there, and then you go down that trail and it'll say Recollet Falls, that's where you go. Anyway, that's where that giant beaver, Nana Bojo was chasing that giant beaver. And then that giant beaver swam up that river, and then he was so big and chubby, he got kind of stuck there. And so when he was trying to go, he dug like this. And then all those rocks piled up behind him, and that's what made the Recollet Falls, and then he continued on his way. So I got this, I read this story, Niigaan Manda Ansokan. Bejik mizinagan, the Ojibwe text jinka de gette mizinagan. Bejik nishnabe gi bon watch on the Wijinishnabe no de epingishmak na kea. Minoa da show de nimki watching. Bejik nishnabe gin watch on enjaban eto de nimki watching. So this fella, his name was William Jones, and he was a fox, what they call a fox Indian or Sauk. And he was a linguist, and he went to visit these people out in the west end of Lake Superior, one of them being a fellow named John Benesse. But his Anishinaabe name was Galgage Benesse, forever bird. And this guy told all these stories in Ojibwe, and he was able to write them down. William Jones wrote down those stories, but you just think of now, we use these phones and we just record it, and sometimes we got these apps that'll, if it's in English or Spanish or French, it'll just write those out. But this guy had to sit there, and the storyteller had to sit there and tell these and go over these stories till he got them right. Anyway, those are thick books. There's lots of stories in there. So here, some people, I kind of got in the, I should just say one person came up to me afterward, because our legends are kind of crazy. And then they were like, you shouldn't tell that you're going to trigger people. And I was like, that's how the story is. Like, and so I always tell people, when I love going to bookstores, but there used to be one in Toronto called the world's biggest bookstore, and I'd go there. And they had a story, it said, politically correct bedtime stories. It was a sarcastic thing. So they took out all the good parts. So that's the same thing here. Our uncle, when he was born an orphan. So he was, but he was raised by his grandmother. So he's always wondering, well, where are other Anishinaabe people? Because is there anybody else living around here? And then he says, well, don't I have a mother or a father? Where's my mom and dad? And then, do I got brothers and sisters? So he kept bugging his grandmother, and she kept saying, no, there's nobody else. No, you don't have a mother and father. No, you got no siblings. So every day he'd bug her. You know how kids do that, eh? Like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Like that kind of thing. I'm hungry. Are we there yet? I gotta go to the bathroom. Are we there yet? So this is what Nana Bush is doing. Don't I got a mom? Don't I got a dad? I must have a brother or sister. So finally he wore her down. And she told him, your mother died when you were born. And he said, yous? Yeah, yous. And he goes, so I got brothers and sisters, just brothers. So then she says, well, how come my mother died? She said, I told you when you were born, she died. So then Nana Bush got it stuck in his head that his siblings killed her. So that's why he says, well, I'm gonna go find them. And so there's a place south of, on the eastern shore of Lake Michigan, and the town is called Antrim, Michigan. And they say over there in the Anishinaabe language, Biwanagong. Biwanak is a flint, Biwanagong. That's what that place used to be called. So what the Anishinabek say is any place, all around the Great Lakes, any place you see an outcropping of flint, that's where Nana Bush hit his brother with his war club. And each time he hit him with his war club, that Biwanak flipped off and landed in the earth. And so that's what Anishinaabe would say, oh, Nana Bojo, he came and left a mark here when he was chasing his brother. But he finally killed him over at that Biwanagong down south by Antrim. So after he killed his brother, then he realized that's not the way. And so he was sad, and he was mad at himself. He was guilty, feeling guilty. And then they say in the story, he came over towards Michilimackinac on the shore there. And that's what Bob mentioned as well. That's the island, Mackinac Island, Michilimackinac. On Enkadok, Nishnabek, Michilimackinac. So some say it means Mikinak, but that ni in there, ni, Mikinakong. And what the Odawa people say is, there was a group of little people, Migo nasap bogoje ninisak, mage memegwe sewak, mage bogoje nishnabe sak. That these ones are kind of like those little people. Although we say little people, there's different kinds of them. And that's what they would say, that people that lived there were Michilimackinac, that they lived there. Anyway, Nana Bush was feeling really bad, and this is what the story says. That the waters there in the Great Lake were just roiling, and then it said it represented his state of mind. And he was just a young man, like not even a young man then, he was still hitting puberty kind of thing. And he was just learning his powers, learning how to behave. So he sat there by Lake Michigan looking at Michilimackinac, and his mind is just roiling. And then as his mind and his feelings are roiling, that's at Mangashka. All those waves are just going there. So they said that they called that place, Anishinabek called that place Wabuzo Namadabit Jinka Dedok. They say this was why it was called that, because of the state of his mind. So I read this story and I was like trying to find this for a while. I was like, where the hell is this place? And so I went around, and then here it's on Google, Rabbit Back Point. That's what it's called, Rabbit Back Point. Of course, it's not going to say Wabuzo Namadabit. So, so you got to find the places, eh? And that's what it's called, Rabbit Back Point. So if you're gamblers, instead of going to Vegas, Kuwait, and go to the St. Ignace location. And then after you lose and you're feeling bad, then go walk up Wabuzo Namadabit. Then that water will just start Daagamishkawa and Bish. So here it's kind of funny when you go there. as it looks, it's called Rabbit Back Road. You drive down that highway, like I showed you there, drive down highway Interstate 75, then go on that Mackinac Trail. Then when you turn off that Mackinac Trail, then go and you'll find Rabbit Back Road. And you drive back there and it's real rural and it doesn't look public at all. But you see that other place that I circled, there's two that I circled. One says Rabbit Back Road, and then Rabbit Back Road continues on. And it doesn't look like there's any place to park. There really isn't. And there's a chain there and just a little driveway. And then somebody's house is right there. So I parked in there and I saw that chain and it had a red cloth tied over it. And then my wife is with me and my kids. And then I says, it doesn't look like we're supposed to be here. And then my wife looks online and says, people are saying, giving it thumbs up, it's worth the hike. And then she says, let's just go. And these people, you can hear their dogs barking, like kind of like what Joe Pitwanico was talking about yesterday. I was thinking, somebody's going to come and chase me. Anyway, she said, we're here now, let's go. So, and then, of course, my kids stayed in the car. But we went up, my wife and I went up. And it's really steep. So you kind of can't see that. That's actually, I took two pictures. I'm standing and I'm looking down, and then I'm looking up. So you see there's a rope beside that trail, and it's actually just, that trail is just like this. There's not much to really walk upon. It's like you're walking on the spine. So there's my wife, Niigaan. She's climbing up using that. And then the other photo you see, she's on top. This is when we're coming down. So I came down first and I left her up there. So this is an old postcard that Nikki Recollet found. And this is where before it grew in on either side. So that's what you're walking up there, eh? And that flag ain't there anymore. But when you go up there, you look around. So that's that Wabu zone namadibit. And when you see this, so I was all excited to find this and go there and, of course, put down the tobacco. So I put down tobacco there, but you get a nice view all around. You see Mission Mackinac, and there's a place called Castle Rock that you see as well, and there's a bay. So I started doing more work because when I did this presentation in Chiging, I found that one of my best friends, their mother, come up to me after I talked about this Wabu zone namadibit. And on the Manitoulin, when you go down Bidwell Road, you go into Wiikwemkoong or to Sheg, there's a place in the road, and if you turn right, you go up this hill, then right there's a big rock. She said her husband Ken said, when we were kids, this is where we would stop and have a picnic at Wabu zone namadibit when we were going on our way to Wiki to visit relatives. Said we'd always stop at Wabu zone namadibit. So there's another, I was like, oh, there's another Wabu zone namadibit, not just this one, there's one on Manitoulin. And then if you go online and you check a thing called Temagami Anishinabek and Kina, or the map that they made for the Temagami land claim, there's a whole bunch of place names over there. And there's another Wabu zone namadibit over there, where the rabbit, and that means where the rabbit sits, the seated rabbit. And then as I went along here, I actually, one time, Angi Wikijivna Gundak Mishipakatan Nalganzajik, the leadership at Mishpakatan asked me to go up for the Elders and Youth Conference there. So I went up there and I had on my Google thing. And then what I briefly saw on there, it said, the seated hare. And then I was like, what the hell? So I tried to take a screenshot, but it didn't work. So then I was like, because then I tried to find it again, and I couldn't find it. And so I was kind of like, did I see that? Did I imagine that? Or is there really a place out that way called Seated Hare? Anyway, you go to that Pakasqua Park, and they're right on the shore. There's supposed to be a big rock there, so I got to go to that one too. That's also the seated hare. So wherever Nanabush went and stopped for a while, that's what he could change himself into a rabbit. Well, he could change himself into anything, but when he stole fire, he changed himself into a rabbit. So that's what they say. Anyway, at this time, our story, according to our story, there was a being called a great beaver. And he was flooding all over the place. He was cutting down trees and flooding places. And he made a dam here at Baoting. He made a dam, this beaver. And Kchigame, Ojibwe Kchigame, is the result of the actions of that beaver. He made that dam, and then this resulted in Lake Superior. And then, according to our story, there was 2 beaver houses, and one was that Isle Menong, and the other was that Mishipakatan Island. Those are 2 beaver homes according to Anishinabe's story on Tsokkan. So Nanabush, of course, the people told Nanabush, get rid of that beaver. He's wrecking our ricing. He's wrecking our land where we trap. It's all flooded. And of course, a lot of us where we're from, we've just experienced these floods. So they were like, we don't want all this flooding. So Nanabush decides to go and trap this beaver. So he goes over and he could turn himself into a giant as well. Some of you may have heard. And he could take these giant steps. He takes these steps. And he goes and jumps on that house at the beaver house at Isle Menong, Isle Royale. He's jumping up and down at that house. Here, those things are these beaver take off. They start swimming away. So he jumps back on the shore and he starts running around that shore. Then he comes to that Mishipakatan Island, jumps on that beaver house, jumps up and down. Again, Nish, Magen, Swe, Mikkok, Zagajiwek, Kujawewak. They take off. They swim out of there. They just take off. But what he had done is he took his grandma and he said, stay by the dam. Stay by here. Yan Mampi. But if you see that beaver, he says, whistle, and then I'll come. She says, okay, I'll do that. So she stayed there. Anyway, so he's up at Mishpakatan and he jumps up and down. And then he tries to jump back, back onto the shore. That's where he jumped. He jumped where it was muddy. And then when he jumped and he landed, he slipped. And when he slipped, he fell on his ass. Oh, his bum. But I got to be politically correct here. So he slipped on his bum. And then he looked around, see if anybody saw him. And he saw that nobody saw him because he thought somebody's going to laugh at him. Then he got up and he looked down. And when he looked down on that, he saw his bum prints in there. And so in the story, it says, Gi bop tonwe ga mazindi eshing. He laughed at where his bum print was left. And he says, oh, I'll just leave that. And all my grandchildren will come here and they'll have a good laugh and they'll remember what I did. So that's what I was actually trying to find when I said that. I was like, okay, where's Nanabush's bum prints up here when I went to Mishpakatan? I was looking around and I walked along the shore a bit and I asked a couple of young people, but they didn't know and I didn't get to meet with their elders to ask, where is this place? So walked along and then that's like what I said, then that's when it said, seated rabbit. And I was like, oh, where did this go? Anyway, so that's what he did. And then he met an otter there at that time as well. He saw an otter. And so he thought, well, I might as well kill that otter and eat it. So he skinned that otter and then he started he put it on a spit and then he stuck it in the ground to roast by the fire. Giibwe, they say, he started roasting it. And as he was staying there, then he cut off an ear, I guess, and he left it there. And then that's when he heard that whistling from his grandmother. So there's a place there you can see on that map, it says Otter Island and Otter Head. And I guess I haven't seen it. I haven't seen this this Otter Head yet. But that's what one of my long-term plans is, to go up here and to check these out. So there you look, it's still called that on this is a Google Map, and it says Otter Island. But you gotta be really adventurous now, like to take a canoe out there or a kayak out there, or you can hire somebody at Mishpakadan to take you out there, or Pick River. So that's what this is here. So you gotta, what I hope one of you do, if I don't do it in my lifetime, maybe some of you young people will find where Nanabush's bum prints are, and you'll understand then what he left for us as teachings. And then of course, like we said, like what, so I was listening to Joe yesterday, Joe Patuanquit, and then he started quoting the Bible and talking about the Genesis, and that the world was made in the image of God. And so with us Anishinaabe people, we always have a sense of humor. And so we're looking for Nanabush's bum. And we're saying made in the image of our people. There's that's what we say. So here, then Nanabush heard that whistling. So he ran down. He come down and then hear that beaver, what that beaver did. Grandma couldn't hold that beaver back. She tried that big giant beaver's coming at her, and she's going to try and stop that beaver. Anyway, it just smashed through that dam. He just smashed his own dam up. And all that debris, that's all these islands as you go along here, along the rapids there, and then all the way down Sugar Island and all these Drummond Island, St. Joseph's Island. That's the debris from that beaver smashing that Miigwech. But here, this place is called Gross Cap. If you go out, you drive out on the second line here at Sault Ste. Marie, and you go west, you just take that second line all the way till it ends, and then you'll be at Gross Cap. And then that Gross Cap, they call that Makaki Wap Kong. And Makaki Mendimwe, that's an old lady, old toad woman, they call that. That's where she resides. So if you go out that way, you'll see all this red rock there, and that's where this lady lives, and that was Nanabush's grandmother. In one version. The other version, it's his wife, that Makaki Mendimwe. So here, this is the other part that I never got to see yet either, but of course the Jaganash always, anything the Anishinaabe believe, they call it the devil. You know, I just watched a rerun of Seinfeld when Putty is going to the New Jersey Devils game and he paints his face all up and we're the Devils. So that's what I think of when I see this Devil's Chair. And then there's another island out that way called the Devil's Warehouse. And apparently what I heard was that Devil's Warehouse, that's where they get that onaman. And that onaman is that red ochre, that paint that they use to paint the pictographs. So that's one other place I wanted to go. And here I was calling this place Gargantua. And then I'm listening to Dean Sayers in Gargantua. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm saying it wrong. But I was thinking it's gargantuan, you know, as a big monster. So here, this is where Nanabush, after this event, he decides that, you know, it didn't go too well trying to get that beaver. So then he ended up taking a rest, and he sat there, and he says that, at Mishpakadan Bay, he says, he took a seat. Gishpen Nishnabek bime wab mawat, Gishpen bangi sema dash nenda wenda mawat, nana mawat. jibo da jigeya. He says, if they give me tobacco here, as I'm seated here, and then I'll make a fair wind. I'll just lightly blow for them to go by on their sailboats without it being gaigo manga gashka suno. So this is where it is on the GPS. And here, that's the thing he says, if they give me that tobacco, then, and they want it to be calm and nice, then I'll just lightly bodajige, you're blowing. So anyway, that's what that looks like, this rock. So you see there's Nanabush reclining, and that's the thing. When Nakadabe, he's sitting like reclining and kind of comfort there. And then I was told that the ice broke that, you know where that hole is there? That arch, that the ice broke that arch part, but it still looks like Nanabush is sitting there. So he's always sitting there. It was sin. That's what that rock looks like, that there's an Anishinaabe sitting there. So that's the one that I wanted to I hope you guys go and see that, try and see that. Like in our area, we kong my Bezhignichke Nimki Jinkazo. He works at the high school in Wiki, and he takes the students out and they paddle to Killarney, and then they look at pictographs and from Wiki, and that's a long haul. And when I worked at Lakeview School, Travis here and Diane DeBosque and Neil DeBosque, they used to take the students out on grade 8 trip, and they'd go canoeing along out to Killarney, and take the kids out, and it wouldn't be just a day trip. It's more than a day trip. Sometimes it's 5 days, and so you look at these landforms, and that's what these were our people's highways. So that's the thing, is you're not going to see these if you just stay in the Quattro and go down to Keewaydin. You're not going to see all these. You're not going to go and put your tobacco down. You got to get out there. So here, this is the Gyabe Bejek Getem Zinigan and Gindan. Mabadashin Nishnabe, George Gabeo se Gijin Kazo, Getaganzi being Ginjabao, Nishnabe. Gikshketon, we Jaganashi be get. Meanwhile, Bangi, meanwhile, Dashgi Nishnabe bige or Nishnabe. So this fella, his name was George Gabeose, Cabiose, some say, Gabeose. And he wrote a manuscript because he used to be a performer in that Hiawatha play. They used to do this performance of Hiawatha play at the Deborah. And I used to say Deborahs, but it was, I guess I was corrected many times. It's called Deborah. So don't go there and say the Deborahs, but Desberats. Anyway, that's a FYI. If you go over there, you're going to see that they used to do this performance with the Hiawatha play. But that Hiawatha play is misnamed. The title is misnamed. It's really Nanabush. And is Nanabojo's escapades in that. And so when Gabeose wrote his manuscript, he was reacting to that. He was saying, like, he performed that. And he was just like, there's misinformation out there. I want to correct it. So this is the story that, one of the stories that he wrote about in there was the origin of the Ojibwe. And he talks about this, that long time ago, this the creator told that crane, sandhill crane, go find a place where the people are going to live. Miigwech Jijak, Gibe Nisabiza, Mampi King, Gi Bambiza, Gi Nanda Wabandan, Enja Nukit. He's flying around looking for a place to live. And so Gi de Babandan ne be. Wase agame we ne be. He sees this clear water. And then so he starts coming down, Nisabiza. He starts descending and circling around. And then he can even see the fish in there, in the water. all different kinds of fish. Noch swayanagizawaat gondagagigoik. Noch dinawagigoik. There's different kinds of fish that he sees. So he goes down there, and then he also sees animals in the Tigwaking, Bambato wat, Bamode wat, Bamse wat. They're all going around. And he says, this looks like a good place. And so then he see Gi Wamdan, Cheajbik. Now a Jawang, Mage, now a Zibing. Right in the middle of the river there, he sees this big rock. So Gi Bonije Gidapik. He lands on top of that rock. And then as he's looking around, then he sees on the south shore, Gidake. He sees this hill. And he says, that's where our people are gonna be. So he goes and flies over there, and then he takes a feather and he sticks it down there. And he says, this is where the Crane clan people will always be. So when I read this, there's big boulders at the foot of the rapids, and he says, and he looked for a suitable place to dwell, and that he saw a mound or a small hill a little away from the foot of the rapids, not further than a ball and a half throw. So I'm like, okay, so that's why I took this picture. This was a RHT gathering a couple of years ago, and I was walking around there. It's like, okay, which rock would this be? But it's been so disturbed with the canal and everything. It's like, I don't know if this is actually it, but I just took pictures of different rocks. I'm not saying that's it. Anyway, the other name that I like, he says that the Gwagane was his Anishinaabe name, the Gwagane. And some translated that as the autumn cabin, based on the Gwage. But he said that the name used to be the Gogendagen. The Gogendagen is somebody you lived with, your cohabitant. So I was looking for that big rock. I said, they must have really thought highly of that big rock that's in the rapids, because that's where that crane landed. Gi Boni Je Gedabik. He landed on that big rock, and then he saw that hill. Then he went and flew to that hill. And then I read in the 1820 treaty that you read the article of that 1820 treaty. It says that the Chippewa tribe of Indians cede to the United States the following tract of land, beginning at the big rock in the river of St. Mary's on the boundary line. So it's like, I wonder if this is the same, this must be the same big rock. So then this is the map, only map I found yet, but my friend Isabel Castle at Nipissing University was the one who helped me out with this. I was like trying to find this, and Nikki Recollet and I were trying to find this, and we're like, where's this map? So if you read that treaty, and I just read in the news, the Facebook news, about a month ago, that this one family actually had the duplicate original of the 1820 treaty in their family at Bay Mills, and they then put it on display across the river, Gambazibing Dasha Te Chitwam or Shimazinagan. So they ended up, they have the duplicate copy of the original treaty, and I said, oh, I want to go see that. Anyway, but I asked around, do you know where this rock is? And the people I've asked so far, they don't know where that is or where that is. Anyway, this is what Isabel Castle found. She says, is this it? And then here, so this is an old news story that was in the Sault Ste. Marie newspaper. And the parts I highlighted in red, it says, which is of an unusual historic importance, meaning this rock. This rock served as the base of a surveying operations in 1750. So I'm not sure if that part has been added in, but there was when 1750, when the French came and made a fort here, that they say that this was also used as a marker. But then the one at the bottom, highlighted in red, the boulder is believed to have been a true Manitou Nido stone or object of veneration by the ancient Indians. It served as the base point for the early land treaties between the American government and the Ojibwe Indian nation, and for the cessions of lands. So I was looking for this big boulder that, of course, that George Gabeose talked about, or the big rock, and then they actually called it Treaty Rock. And so here, I don't know how that Isabel found that on this map, because there you see that I circled it in red. It says Treaty Rock. And then the other thing that Isabel told me, she says, based on this map, you see under treaty, it has like a double cross. And she says, when I was a kid, I went to sailing school. And what a cross means on water is that there's a submerged object underwater. And when it's double, it means it's a big one. So there's that rock, because of the canal and everything, must have been submerged. So anyway, last night, Niigaan Gdizhaami Forum. So we went over there yesterday looking for this, and we went to, this place is called Ashman Park. So if you want to go check it out, but I'm not certain. And by the time I sent this to Paige, I couldn't add in my pictures. And I was like, there's a big rock in the middle of that. Is this it? And we don't know. But apparently the city council the city of Sault Ste. Marie knows which rock it is, because a number of times they said, well, we can't disturb this. We can't blast it or whatever. This is a Great Lakes Indian Fish and Wildlife Commission. They've done excellent work on their place names. So one thing that what I've seen though, this place is called Point Iroquois, and it's Bashjing de Ginoje. It's past that Bay Mills, and it's called Point Iroquois. And there's a famous battle there where Anishinabek Nadawek Miigwech Ode, Anishinabek Gin Saan Noe Nadawent Ode. So the story goes, the short story is that the Anishinabek were victorious over there, and they killed many Haudenosaunee people there. So many that there was bones and skulls all lying around. Oh, I forgot, I can't tell you that kind of thing. Anyway, that's what the one name is, Nadaweo Gunning. Nadaweo Gunning. And then what on this glyphic map though, it says, Nadaweo Ji Bay Gamagong. Nadaweo Ji Bay Gamagong is Nadaweo Cemetery. But the older word that I used to see for this in different writings was Nadaweo Gunning, and that means Haudenosaunee bones, where the Haudenosaunee bones are. So that's what the story is. Anyway, if you get a chance, go over there too. But as you know, there were great battles between the Anishinabek and the Haudenosaunee, and they came up this far to fight us. And then we were, as I said, we were victorious a number of different times. But here they ended up coming to make peace with us. And where they made peace with us was at Bauting Mampi, Bauting Gibejawak Narwek, and they made peace with us. So one of the words, I was looking for the word for peace before, like the absence of war. So I had said to the elders, is it one key? You know, and they said, no, that's kind of like it's peaceful. Like it doesn't really mean there's, and I said, well, like one key endum, that would be, well, that's even more different. Anyway, so then what I ended up finding is when you enter into peace, that what they said, minnow and the wind the win. Minnow and the wind the min. That we made good relations with each other. We made each other relatives. So that's what our word for peace is, to make each other relatives, and they would marry people together. But there was a wampum belt given at that time, and this wampum belt had a line of peace, the white road of peace bisecting the wampum belt, and it had representations of 5 wigwams, which were actually 5 council fires. And then the first symbol or the first wigwam on there was Mampi, Baoting. And then the next one, they said this is where the Haudenosaunee came, and the ancestors of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinabek ignited a council fire, and that they said that this fire would never go out. Your fire will never go out, they said, and that you'll always keep it going. And then they then went to Manitoulin and Ninominissing or the Gizgaka Wak Gunduk Commission Sananik. Our grandfathers then ignited a fire at Manitoulin Island. The Albadakane Kida. They say that this would always burn as well. And we don't know exactly where on the island where this council fire was. Of course, Wikwemkong people say it's at Wikomakong. Shishiguani people say it was at Shishiguani. And Chiging people say it was at Chiging. So, and then others say it was at Mantuani. So we don't know where exactly this council fire was, but what they said, the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe, they said our ancestors placed there a white fish, and this white fish was going to look after that fire until the end of time, and that this fire would never go out. So people used to think that it meant the tikmeg, but they said the other thing they said was that white fish represented purity. So it wasn't that wasn't the species. Anyway, since found out that, and I suspected this, that it was actually a Guinogé. That's the particular species. Then they said our ancestors, the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe ancestors, went to make peace and ignite a council fire at an island in Penetanguishene Bay. And they said, they also said again that this fire would never go out, and they left the choice pieces of wood, and that forever that fire would go until the end of the world. And they also said then that they placed a beaver there, and that beaver represented wisdom, that all the actions of our ancestors were done in wisdom. Then they went and they said that they ignited a council fire at the Narrows, and the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe then placed their wabadik, a white reindeer. So sometimes they saw people say a white deer, but it was a caribou, wabadik, a dick. And they said that that one represented superiority, and that one was going to represent and watch that fire till the end of time. So then finally they said, finally our ancestors met at the mouth of the Credit River, and there they ignited a council fire, and the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe ignited that council fire, and they said it would never go out, but they placed there also a pine tree. And on top of that pine tree, they placed that Miigwech, that white bald-headed eagle. Miigwech wash on in Kadok, Miigwech on in Kadok. So they said that that fire would never go out, and the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe, they said that this Miigwech represented farsightedness, that if any sign of danger, either enemies or illness or sickness, that this Miigwech would then fly and tell that caribou at the Narrows, and then fly and tell that beaver at that island in Penetanguishene Bay, and then fly and tell that fish at Manitoulin, and then fly and tell the people here at Bawating. What my friend Darlene Johnson now, my friend Darlene Johnson was the one who told me this, that represents the clans. It's the premier clans at each of those places. So that's why, although in the written documentation it says that there is no symbol at Sault Ste. Marie, we would know that it would have been the Jijok, the Crane clan. And then at Manitoulin, that's why we know it's the Guinogé. For a while, I thought it might have been the Wassi, just because Mokmanish was the head chief there, and his clan was that Wassi, that brown bullhead. Then his son, Michael Kinoomaadziwin, and then Thomas Kinoomaadziwin, these were the chiefs that were the head chiefs. And so I knew it was a white fish, so I thought it might have been that Wassi. Anyway, this is a place, Montpey Bawating, not only where the 1850 treaty was signed, not only where that 1820 treaty was signed, but where a wampum belt to establish peace all along the northern shore of Lake Huron and the northern shore of Lake Ontario was established. And that's the wampum belt that was kept. So here again, like it's the Dodems, and here I got somebody to make this map for me, and they put that crane at the Bawating, and then they put that Guinogé at Niromnising, and they put that Amik over at Beausoleil Island. So somebody here, I think it's this young guy, said he's from Chiminising, and that's where this that's Christian Island, but the Beausoleil Island is the one we think where the actual fire was ignited. And then at the Narrows, Minjikaning at Rama, where that caribou is. And there's a lady on the agenda named Shinning. That Shinning clan, that was a caribou. And then, of course, that Miigwech at the mouth of the River Credit. So here again, there was an alliance made, and this is a book called The Ojibwe Narratives of Charles Cawbalgum and Jacques Lepic. And this fellow was living at Marquette, Charles Cawbalgum. And he was a Crane clan. His father was Makaregijik. And ultimately his great-grandfather was Metsagi, Crane clan chief in the 1790s here, signed the 1798 St. Joseph's Island Conveyance. And then he also signed that other treaty there, Metsagi, with the Crane clan. But this was his grandfather. But he said that there was a wampum belt made and an alliance made between the Ojibwe, Odawa, Potawatomi, and the Menominee. And he says that this pipe and this belt was kept on the Canadian side by my brother Wabameme. And Wabameme means that white woodpecker. And this woodpecker is that pileated woodpecker, the big one, not the hairy or downy woodpecker, it's the pileated woodpecker. So that's the one that kept that, and he says that there's a belt. So this is what you guys have to look for, but I'm helping you look for it. Is there's a wampum belt somewhere that has purple beads and has a white road of peace through it, and what I suspect is it has 4 diamonds on it or 4 hexagons. That's what represents a nation or a council fire. So your people here, around here at Garden River, had this wampum belt here. And this is the fellow, Wabameme. And you see he's wearing that big King George III medal. And I was reading another story about the late Fred Pine that was from Niigaan Gdizhaami Forum, Fred Pine. And this fellow who recorded him, he ended up, what Fred Pine says was, Wabameme was the one who taught me these stories. So this is the fellow that taught Fred Pine those stories. So anyway, there's just interesting things that went on here in and around Baoting. Giotaying Mampe Baoting. Ode Niigaan Gdizhaami, Ode Badwanang. De Ginoje Kaning, Ziz Bakadamenessing. So, as he said too, there was a pipe that went with this. And back in those days, nowadays our pipes go from our elbow to the end of our fingertips. But back then, these ones went from our heart to the end of our, they're long pipe stems. And so this pipe stem and pipe would have been in and around this area too, so trying to keep an eye out for that. And then they would drape it with those tail feathers of the Miigwech. So this is a person, Kaiwika Ngi Kwashkwasi, Kaigowika Ngi Wachasi. I've never met this man, and I never saw him in real life. But when I worked at the Ojibwe Culture Foundation, we got recordings of him. And when we had these recordings of him, he talked in Ojibwe about his people, about the traditions, and about the Anishinabek. And so I got to know him that way, vicariously. And here, this is just one of the things that I like that he said. So Nabamagak means that it's sleeping, that medicine is sleeping, he's saying. Many things aren't done. Where they get the kinon the win gabayaying of the things that the old teachings, the old ways. Bekishna jenishing where they mshkekin no win nango wa bindigeshkamang. Nonch way in age wa windamang where they shkwayang. So it says there's things that in this age which we are bringing back so we can be better in looking back We will look at the mistakes we made. Kanab me wabindamange winichigaing, all those mistakes we made. Mandagi winichigaing. Wedege wene nonchi ode kajichige Niigaan. And this is what we will do there in the future. The jayamagat, the pichamagat go neab, jekmiying. And then that's, he says there, it will feel like there will come a time to go back, to step backwards. That's jekmi, or jetkoki jekmi. You take a step back. So all that stuff. And then again, this is the part that we, one of the things that that inspired me long ago was, again, when I started with that Mishomas book, that at near the one of the concluding chapters, that what he had written there, he says that there are many things left along the trail, and the new people will come up and look for what was left along the trail to bring it back. And so that's what that reminds me of. And so when we look at our traditions, as Big Tagong presenter said yesterday, it's not really a static thing that we're doing, that romanticizing the past. We're actually looking at what was there and how to bring that up for today, to make it useful to today. Mino nabadat kunda nanda nabadanon nandan. These things are still of good use to us. So this is health break. So I hope you guys go out to Makki Wapkong. I hope you guys go out to that Wabuz Namadabit. I hope you guys go out to on Webawending, to all these places, and put your Ode Bindakujagem. You go over there and do your offerings over there. Eh? Okay, Miigwech.
Thank you so much. And a wealth of information, things I was Googling and putting through AI as I was going, intrigued by the Treaty Rock. If you look at the nautical charts, even some of the older nautical charts in that Ashman Bay, Alan, there's it's listed as ruins. But those ruins date back to when there was a mill there and underneath the water. And it's not very deep water, but they think that Treaty Rock was used to create foundations for some of that stuff. So it must have been broken up after the treaty. But yeah, still lots to see and lots to learn. Wonderful. Well, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back at 11 o'clock, please. 11 o'clock. And again, I should probably, before you go, I want to make sure you're going to the right place. So imagining the IEP, I think that's individual education plans. Is that right? Right on. Yeah, $20 for me. That is going to be in the main ballroom right here, and Dana is going to be leading that one. Group number 2, data across the AES. Charity is going to be leading that. That's taking place in the South Ballroom. So that's in our feast room over there. And Shelley is going to be leading group number 3 in the Great Lakes room, which is a combination of the Erie and Huron room from yesterday. They've taken the partition apart. It is now the Great Lakes room. That's down the hall. So that will go from 11 o'clock till 12 o'clock. Please try to be on time. You've got 12 minutes to get to your place. Have some coffee. Take care of yourself. But yeah, report to your individual sessions at 11 a.m. Miigwech. Youth, we want you to go to the Ontario room, youth.